We were overcrowded at Woodlawn and at Fred Wild. So I began looking for property. I did look at Highway 66 because I knew there had been a beginning of a development out in what was called Orange Blossom Estates. And I felt like there was bound to be growth between Sebring and Lake Placid. So the logical place was either Loretta or out 66. And because I thought it would be more accessible for Lake Placid, and I wanted to really integrate those Lake Josephine populations and the intervening areas along with both Lake Placid communities and the Sebring communities. The growth was pretty well done to as far as I could see on the north end. So that seemed like a good place. It was right on a highway that had recently, fairly recently, been designated the Florida Cracker Trail in honor of the custom, the historical process of cattlemen moving their cows from one side of the state to the other, depending on where they were going to be shipped. So under the leadership of Citizen Marvin Kahn, there had been a state law passed to name that highway 66, and it goes from the east coast to the west coast, or the trail ride itself originates on the other side. But it was to commemorate the role of the cattle industry in Florida. And I don't know if you know or not, but Florida was the first place there were cattle in the nation. They beat Texas and New Mexico and all of those. They're pretty proud of that. But so I announced to the board that the name we had selected was Cracker Trail Elementary. I had no idea that the word cracker was offensive to some part of the population. I really tried to apologize to the people that were offended, that they perceived the word cracker to be an insulting word. At the encouragement of the old timers and my sense of protecting history and the importance of children feeling that they have some roots, I decided that we would gain more from naming it Cracker Trail and then work at teaching boys and girls to learn and understand differences in language. I'm an English teacher, so I thought it was important to learn that, and that's the basis of the final decision.
And I can remember a newspaper article that was put in the paper by one of the writers after all of the discussion as far as naming the school, and it was decided to name it Cracker Trail. He said, "Let the kids come to school and have fun. Let perceptions lie. They're gone. Let them lie." This was one of the items that was given to me when Cracker Trail finally was decided. Cracker Trail, Elementary L, they had several other names, and then finally it was named Cracker Trail. So this shirt is 20 years old, and I've worn it only several times, but I'm glad to share it with you because it has worked out for the best for everyone.
It seemed economical to me. I'm a child of the Depression, and I like to save money. So I thought we had just had a design for other elementary schools, particularly Sun and Lake, I think, was the first we built on this plan. And we replicated that design for Lake Country, Park, and Cracker Trail. So 4 of the 5 schools were the same concept. One person criticized me and said, "Oh, you're not building it sturdy enough or artistic enough. It's just a line of classrooms." And I tried to think of any reason that a teacher would benefit from working in, or that a child could benefit from working in some artistic, beautiful, unique design. And I couldn't justify that in my mind.
It was a very, very reliable type of structure. It had 3 main buildings with a K3 on one side, a 4 and 5 on the other, an exceptional ed, and right down the middle, that wing was made up of the office, the guidance department, the media center, the resource rooms, and the cafeteria. So your campus was long, but it all honed into the center. And our boundaries went from Hammock Road all the way down to Lake Josephine South, all the way over to Hardy County West, and all the way to E.O. Douglas to the east. So we really covered a large perimeter and boundary for students.
Town. And I was really wanting a leader who could synthesize, if you will, the different pieces of staff and attitude and tradition. So I had seen the work that Ed Pippin did when he opened Sun and Lake, and I knew he knew how to do that. He did not grow up in this county. He didn't have a red blood or blue blood or green blood running in his veins. So I thought he could maybe harmonize the Lake Placid point of view, the Loretta point of view, the South Sebring point of view, and get that whole business together. Actually, I think since then, Mr. Cox has done the same sort of thing with the kindergarten center, because it brings children from 3 elementaries into one and thinks about what's best for the children, which is, after all, the purpose. So anyway, that was the story of how Ed Pippin got the job, and of course he did not disappoint me.
And the teachers that I got from Fred Wild, Lake Placid Elementary, Woodlawn Elementary, and some of the other schools, we had an exceptional staff to start with. And what really helped me out is that many of these teachers volunteered to come and open a new school. And I think that was really the success of Cracker Trail. We had some major problems for about a month at Cracker Trail. We moved in, or school opened on the 19th. We had no water because the well they put in was 720 feet deep, except it collapsed to 420 feet. So the day we opened school, there were 2 water tankers parked in front of the school. One water tanker was hooked up to the toilet system, and the other water tanker was hooked up for other needs except drinking. And they did not let us use that water until it was tested for a couple of weeks and had no bacteria in it. And everybody that sent a donation in, I kept their names, and then I put an article in the paper listing all of the people that sent donations in for playground equipment. Every February, when they started that Cracker Trail ride, they contacted me and wanted to know if they could stop by. And Mrs. Hanley was involved with that a little bit, and I talked to her about it. She said, that would be a great idea, Ed. So we started that. Whenever the Cracker Trail riders started their ride on 66, every year they would come, and that would be one of the stops. About 9 o'clock in the morning, we would take all the kids out to the bus loading ramp, and the Cracker Trail riders would come in with their horses, and they would give demonstrations and whip demonstrations, and we would have the kids dress up in their Western drab and put their Western hats on, and we just had a wonderful, wonderful time in the morning when they would come through. And then they would permit the kids to go around and pet the horses, and 20 years later, that tradition still goes.
And each year, the Cracker Trail riders stop in here on their way across the state, and that's very unique. We probably had 25 to 50 people here, riders here this year, the biggest number so far. So I think that's very unique to our school. Yeah. So another thing that we're probably unique for is we actually had somebody put a tree stand in to hunt hogs on our property without us knowing who it was. And so on weekends, I guess somebody was here hunting, and I had to stop that. You know, so it's not every school you can hunt on the grounds. You know.
It's the same child. He needs all of us to help. It takes a village, to be corny.